Okay, I'm hoping that this will be my last video until the consoles actually come out, which is hopefully about 5 months from now, maybe even 6. Because, well, the Xbox One is coming out in November, and there's a good chance that the PlayStation 4 will also come out in November, or maybe even December. But there's a good chance that that won't happen because opening up right on the Christmas day in Black Friday and all that shit would not be a good idea for Sony. It would be pretty devastating and stupid, especially if they opened right on Christmas Day. Yeah, Sony, that would be a clusterfuck. But there's been a lot of talk lately about, Microsoft dropping the DRM, and I said this in my last video, and a lot of people were saying, but there's some really good points in what Microsoft was trying to do. And of course, this goes into but they were future proofing themselves. No, they weren't. I've made 2 demonstrational videos on my iOS iPod Touch, literally showing that I can turn the goddamn internet off and still play my single player games. But these morons out there are saying, but if we go digital download, we gotta lock it down and force the users to do what they want. That is total freedom. What? That freedom? And that will bring the prices down lower? First of all, I asked the question in my next to last video, that if this was a so-called future-proofed idea of locking down the fucking hardware and killing the hardware once it's done, what and if this is a certifiable way to bring down prices, then why in iOS and in Android are they able to give away free games and more DLC and so much more shit into that system? And they don't have the same restrictions that, quote unquote Steam has. And it's going for Android, Steam, and even the Windows Phone. They got games in there that are 99 cents, almost. I mean, yes, they recently got the XCOM, which is about $20, which is not a real big deal. Even though I heard Adam Sessler get up there and say, well, this is the best port, and it's exactly like the PC game, with all the same graphics, even though the cab is looking more square than it should be, and the people all have, obvious, not very good renders. If you want to know what I mean, just cross the PC version or any of the console versions, and just cross it with, say, the new iOS version of the XCOM game, Enemy Unknown, and you will see that there was a major fucking downgrade in the game. But everybody's like, oh, but look at this. This is exactly like the game. No, dumb fucks. It's pretty much like what would happen if you fucking ported a fucking 360 game onto a PS2. It just surprises me, the actual stupidity. And not only that, Sisler was showing gameplays from both the PC and the console versions, along with the iOS version, and here he is saying, but they're exactly alike, and you couldn't tell the two apart. Oh yes, I could. Just look for the one that looks like it was made for a PlayStation 2, or a PlayStation 1 in some cases. Yep, that's definitely iOS. That's iOS. No, that's 360 at that point. Or, PS3, or the PC version, they're all the same. Or even the Mac version. But they're all identical. But yet, these reviewers are either paid so much money or just so unbelievably dumbassed. You just have no clue. None. Look, it's simply goddamn obvious. We are heading into a digital future, and we will be dropping physical copies. And we will have to download our games before we end up going into this live streaming thing. And I'm not going to get into people who defend the cloud service of Xbox One on their own stupidity, because all I'm going to say is, look what happened to OnLive. Yeah, they completely crashed. And Microsoft is a compilable idiot for thinking that they were an actual competitor in the console market, even though they went bankrupt. It's like, you're out there making a simple product, and you have two other competitors who are doing good, and a third competitor who doesn't know a flying fuck of what they're doing comes in and completely balls up. But you stand there and go, "Oh, we gotta compete against that. It's going to destroy us." Well, first of all, they're out of business and done with. How? Most of the other ideas, except maybe two of them, were okay ideas with the whole Microsoft DRM thing, but you got one of them being the 24-hour online internet checks. Beyond bullshit. You shouldn't do that with hardware, especially Pacific based hardware games, because when the life cycle of that particular hardware ends, that means they cut it off and you lose all your fucking games and all your downloaded games gone. And second was that whole sharing with a certain friend. And just to let you know, Steam is now going. Steam's beta. It was just found in a Steam beta that where you'll be able to trade with friends. So don't give that rumor out. I mean, not rumor. I mean, don't ever pass that bullshit around anymore. And this whole, Microsoft was trying to get us into the future by forcing the future down our throats. Yeah, you know what? Forcing the future down people's throats doesn't mean you walk into their house and beat the living, loving shit out of them and take away all their fucking rights. And, of course, force them to check in on the internet every 24 hours against their fucking will. That's not forcing the future. That's basically control. This plan, if Microsoft continued with it, which they thankfully aren't anymore, would have devastated the Xbox One so badly that Sony and the Wii U would have pretty much won the entire generation. Microsoft would have never caught up. And that so-called future-proofing nonsense that everybody would say was never going to happen, because Microsoft would then have to drop out of the console race altogether. That's the truth. Because right now, all three consoles are offering this. You can have a physical copy of the disc, or you can digitally download a copy onto your console or external hard drive, depending on what you want to do it. And by the way, just to let you know, it was also confirmed you can use USB external hard drives with the PlayStation 4, as well as a removable hard drive, which is what I've been asking for. But both Nintendo and Microsoft has extremely fucked this up. So kudos for Sony for actually, paying attention. And I still do not hate my Wii U. I still like it, and I still think it's a great little console. But one of the main things that needs to happen is that the mob rules need to end off of it, because some of the things that people are saying are complete and utter bullshit. Or, like Black Bond, who won't shut the fuck up, no matter how idiotic it's starting to make him look like. Because, hardware-wise, I'm not happy with Xbox One. I mean, and I'm not happy with the whole Kinect, which is still present, by the way. The Kinect must be connected at all times. And even though that most of the games they showed at E3, only like one or two used the Kinect. In fact, most of the others didn't, except for maybe a few voice commands, which people are saying is hardware based. Microphones that do, like good old microphones made in the 50s or so, apparently can be programmed now. Yeah, it doesn't make a lick of sense. All that is just a requirement. The software that is put in on the console is your voice commands. The voice command is in the fucking console. It is not in the fucking Kinect hardware. There is not even a fucking hard drive in the goddamn thing. But everybody I mean, everybody is committed to believe that the fucking microphone in the Kinect, which has no hard drive capability whatsoever, is able to hold these commands inside it magically. The stupidity continues, and it will still continue. Do I think that this whole thing with Microsoft DRM will go away? Yeah, it will. The whole DRM mess, and it will be forgotten about in about a year, maybe two. And mainly that's just because most gamers forget because they just want to play games. Um, will it hurt them in the short run? Yes. Will it hurt them in the long run? Most likely not. Basically, as I said before, Microsoft did build a lot of bad blood, which means that their launch may not go as well as they planned. And unfortunately, all Microsoft can do is just take that hit. But in the long run, more and more people will probably be more swayed or slowly forgive Microsoft. There will be some people right now who will forgive them and go straight for the Xbox One right now, but I don't think it's going to be everybody. And of course, there are also people who are not going to buy it because of technical reasons, because they don't like the technology, or they don't like the fact that the Kinect is always on, or the people who just don't care for the television features or can't use the television feature, which is also going to hurt Microsoft too. But the one thing that will hurt them right now is definitely going to be the bad blood they built. You know, raising their hands and telling the fucking gamers to fuck off. And yeah, and the alienation they did to a good amount of the hardcore gamers, and it's not gonna end well. And like I said, all Microsoft can do is just button up and just take the impact because that's all they can do. And of course, there are other issues. You know, like why is Microsoft with its lesser hardware more expensive? And I know they're going to say the Kinect, and the Kinect is somewhat expensive, especially with its night vision capabilities, which I know is damned expensive, but it still wouldn't make up for the whole basic hardware because literally saying this, if Microsoft shipped the Xbox One without the Kinect 2 version 2, it wouldn't come to $399. It would be about $350, maybe even $340, because its hardware is not that hardware intensive. And with the Kinect, it shouldn't come all the way up to $499. It should at least be somewhere somewhere close to maybe $450. So it confuses the shit out of me. I mean, Sony, well, you know, they're using a really good graphics card, and yes, I'm well aware the CPUs are all identical in both systems, but Sony is using a really good graphics card, and they're using GDDR5 memory. They're giving you a really good deal on your value. In fact, the console should be a lot more expensive than what Sony's asking, and they're doing a really good job with it. I have to admit, Sony really is looking good. And also, I saw Review Tech USA's video. I think he saw my last video on there where he basically started mocking and saying, well, this is the same for all digital download services, which is bullshit, by the way. Any idiot who's gone past the fifth grade could prove what Review Tech said there was wrong. I just think he wants to hold tight on believing that the restrictions that Microsoft was holding was, you know, as he kept stating, future proof. And I'm sorry, ViewTech, I got your little message, and not all download services are like Steam, and they don't just follow the Steam road, and iOS and Android do not follow this at all on their digital fronts, and yet they give out games not cheaper or even more cheaper than what than what even Steam has to offer in most cases. And hell, even good old GOG is starting to come out with low cost games as well. And they don't even have DRM whatsoever. So, yeah, nice one, Review Tech. Uh, but then again, like I said, he doesn't answer to people with low viewer scores like mine. But it is true. There's more than one downloadable service, and Microsoft could have picked any one of them, including Apple's iOS App Store and Android's fucking apps and non app stores, along with Amazon's App Store, and they give away cheaper games, if not cheaper than what Steam offers, and they do not follow the same model of what Steam offers. What Steam has. They do not follow the same restrictions as what Steam has, and that is an actual truth. And as I said, if you think that Microsoft's so-called restriction rules, which I know they abandoned, but if you thought there were restriction rules that they were going to go with was future-proofing, then explain iOS and Android to me. And I don't think it will, or anybody else will for that matter. See ya.